if integrity is true to self, and core values are the measure of that, who has to live by those core values more than anyone else? The leader, right? You know the CEO rule, people have 1 ear tuned to what you say and 2 eyes focused on what you do. Right? So you have to be the one who sets the standard for those core values. You've got to say, I know if you want to know how to interact with people right in my organization, do it like me. That makes you a leader with integrity. Okay, so here's your action steps. First of all, define your core values. Listen, here's a way to get started. You can spend a lifetime really defining this and developing different ways to say it, but you got to get started somewhere, so start here. Write down 3 to 5 words that express values that matter to you. 3 to 5 words. Honesty, communication, trust. Whatever they are for you, for your business, for your world. Write down those 3 to 5 words, and then when you do that, follow that with a definition of each one of those words as you define it. Because you understand, the words themselves are not defined the same way by all people. Do you realize that not everybody understands honesty in the same way? You think that's hard to believe, but it's true. Some people will say honesty is my core value, and what they mean by that is you need to tell the truth as long as you don't hurt anybody's feelings. Other people will say you need to be honest, and that's my core value, and what they mean by honesty is you need to tell the truth no matter whose feelings it hurts. And those are 2 exceptionally different views of honesty. Now, at their core, they're still both about being truthful and honest, but you've got to be able to define how you intend that word to be used in your culture. So write out the words, jot them down on a piece of paper, and then follow that up with a description of each one that comes from your perspective. And then, again, ask the question, how will you communicate those core values to others? And there are a million ways to do it. I can't tell you exactly how to do it for your business. I can say if you've got the core values and you do not communicate them, not just once, by the way, but regularly, ongoing, then those core values aren't having impact. I know a lot of businesses that put a set of values, for example, in their employee manual. How many of you have values in your employee manual in some way? Okay, how many of your employees read the employee manual after the first day of training? Uh-oh. Right? So listen, what happens is they see the value and they understand the value. They may even accept the value and then they forget the value. Because they only encounter it one time. And what I'm saying is, figure out ways to communicate the value again and again and again and again. I'll just give you one example. I've got a client who owns a personal training studio. And Andrew decided that he wanted to follow this rule. And so what he did, he's got a weekly staff meeting. All of his trainers come together for that weekly staff meeting. Some of them are full-time, some of them are part-time, whatever, but they all get together once a week in each studio. You've got multiple studios, so each studio gets together as a team for a weekly staff meeting. And what he did was he said to each one of the members of his team, look, when we get together, each week I'm going to ask one of you to talk about one of our core values and explain how it's worked out in your world, what it means to you. And so every week they have somebody talking about one of their core values, and they just keep going around in the cycle so that every week they're talking about core values again and again. And it's a powerful tool. Andrew's been doing that for about a year, and he told me about 2 or 3 months ago now that it has completely revolutionized the way his team understands values. They not only know what the values are, but they own them. They've taken possession of them for themselves, and they now believe that it's a core part of who they are and how they interact with each other. It's powerful stuff. And then answer this last question. How are you going to enforce core values? Because you know, the essence of core values is that they are non-negotiables. So you've got to decide how you're going to let people know if you violate the values, it's going to have consequences. And it doesn't mean that necessarily that the first time somebody violates a core value, you fire them, but it does mean they've got to understand that this is what could happen if you don't live up to that value, and there has to be in the mind of the leader this principle. There has to be in your mind this principle. At some point, if somebody won't live up to this value, they can't be on my team. You've got to be willing to say that. And by the way, it doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. But you got to understand, if you don't want to play by my rules of engagement, you can't be on my team. And if you don't have that concept going into it, then you don't have anything really to enforce. It's not a core value, it's a like to have, it's a nicety, and it's an option. And that doesn't create culture, and it does not foster leadership.